You are looking live at a windswept Welsh-Ryan Arena. And on a cold Thursday night in Evanston, two teams at the bottom of the Big Ten are looking to turn things around.
Windswept is right, Brendan. I honestly felt like I was going to freeze on the way over to the studio.
But luckily, our hearts are warmed by the wonder of doing a live show right here in MFC.
And Northwestern and Penn State are coming up shortly, and we've got everything you need to know about it right here because it's Sports Night
right now.
Welcome to Sports Night. You know, Brendan, with the Nittany Lions taking on the Wildcats, I get the sense that this show has a bit of a feline flair tonight.
Well, you're absolutely right, Calvin, and the Claws are almost certainly going to be out tonight. It's a potential first-round preview of the Big Ten tournament, with both teams looking to stack up wins during the stretch run.
Yeah, both teams really want to rack up a win tonight, and you can tell because the intensity in Welsh-Ryan Arena is absolutely through the roof. As we rapidly approach tip-off, it's time to take another live look in at the arena. Let's hear from our in-venue reporters, Sammy, Krimstein, and Capobianco, for more on tonight's contest.
We're here live from Welsh-Ryan Arena, Northwestern taking on Penn State, and it's a battle between two Big Ten teams that are looking to turn their season around heading into the back half of their conference slate. Mikey.
That's right, Penn State and Nittany Lions coming to town tonight, still searching for their first win of Big Ten play, as well as of the month. They're on a 7-game losing streak, looking to pick one up here in Evanston tonight.
And for Northwestern, they're coming back from the West Coast. They got their first conference win tonight. They'll be looking for their first conference win at home. We'll throw it back to you guys.
Coming off their first conference win over USC, the Wildcats took on Tinseltown once more last Saturday. Their opponent, the UCLA Bruins, in the famed Pauley Pavilion. Some Big Ten action in the cathedral built by John Wooden. Cats looking to complete the sweep on their California road trip. Bruins won the tip, and the hosts would get a bucket on their first possession, but Northwestern would respond quickly. Tyler Kropp, nice dish here to Trey Singleton on the back cut. Freshman feed for the layup, and the Cats get on the board. Northwestern down 2, and now Nick Martinelli here on the baseline chisels his way to the cup and converts the tough floater, all tied up at 5, and it would stay close early on. Jake West leads the break, gives it up, gets it back, drives the lane, and finishes the acrobatic layup. UCLA trails 6-7. Next possession for Northwestern. Martinelli working in the mid-post, drawing the defense, dimes up Singleton in the corner. His triple is good, and Northwestern extends the lead, but UCLA would turn the tide quickly. Jordan Clayton moving off the ball. Triple from the wing is good. Northwestern back within 6. UCLA continues expanding the lead. Max Green, great dish to Martinelli to put it up and in, but Northwestern would still trail by double digits going into the break, and it would get worse from there. Cats down 16. Clayton trying to dig him back with a corner 3. He does. Northwestern not out of it yet, down 9 with 3 minutes to go. Max Green, shimmy, step back, swish, 6-point game in Los Angeles. UCLA built back to double digits, but Martinelli knifes through the defense. Tough layup. Cats still fighting with under 2 minutes to go. A little bit later, Martinelli would do it again, takes it at the top of the key, drives through the contact to the cup, puts it up, NU within 7. But it would be too little, too late for Northwestern. They dropped to 1-8 in conference play going into tonight after the 71-64 loss on the road.
Well, after Northwestern's loss to UCLA, Penn State continued its quest for a conference win on Monday, taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes on the road in Columbus. Here we go. Penn State, Ohio State highlights. The Nittany Lions faring well to start. Look at Eli Rice, the 6'8" sophomore. He's absolutely going to drain that 3. Penn State leads early, but the Ohio State offense stayed with it. A few minutes later, though, Penn State on offense, and Ivan Juric using all of that 7-foot frame to get the follow, keeping Penn State right in it. But here come the Buckeyes. The offense really got rolling for the Ohio State squad, and Tayson Chapman was the one to hammer home that 3. It really started from the perimeter. Here's John Mobley. 1 jab, 2 jabs, step back, splash. The Buckeyes going on a big run, and they weren't going to stop there. Late in the half, Bruce Thornton, just look at this fall away, knocking it down as the half expired. Ohio State headed into the break, leading by 18. All Buckeyes in this part of the game. But Penn State, they weren't ready to go away. This time it's a feed. Look who it is. Eli Rice back on the perimeter. He was the man in the second half for Penn State, and he wasn't going to be done. The Nittany Lions surged back to within 7, and another Rice triple brought him back to within 4 on this one. He continues to be someone to watch out for Penn State. But the Buckeyes, they weren't going to go down easy, and it started with the passing. Just check out this feed. John Mobley Jr. with such a quick trigger right over the defender. He doesn't hesitate, and Ohio State stays strong. And as time ticked down, Penn State had one last chance to get back in it. Eli Rice, his 6th three of the night, 20 points for him, but it was not enough. Ohio State ultimately kept the Nittany Lions at bay. They were able to walk out of there with an 84-78 win.
And after a 1-1 record on its California cruise, Northwestern basketball has found some positive momentum. SportsNight's Anna Watson was at Wednesday's presser and has more on the state of the team.
Northwestern's 2026 has had no shortage of different looks. Chris Collins and the Cats have struggled to find one that works for them, but last week's California road trip might have brought them one step closer to doing so with the inclusion of Tyler Kropp and Max Green in the starting lineup.
I've just liked the vibe. Max really, we've been searching on the perimeter, quite honestly. We just haven't had a lot of consistent play out of the wings. I've liked their energy, but that being said, we need those other guys. Who knows tomorrow, depending on how the game goes and where things are at, it could be 2, 3, 4 other guys that come in and really help us.
Green has especially impressed Collins as of late, saying he's improved the more he's played.
He's shooting the ball better. He's not pressing as much. He's letting the game come to him a little bit more, which is all things we talked about with him. I felt like these last 2 were his best 2 games. Thought he made some plays, made some really nice drives that led to passes.
Even if Collins is still waiting for some of his other players to get to a good place, he is hopeful the team can turn the season around like he's seen in the past.
When Brian McIntosh and Vic Law and all those guys were freshmen, I think we were 1-10 in our first 11. But the thing that really struck me about that group is throughout the course of the year, you always have former coaches or TV people that are doing your games that kind of watch practice. And I remember them always saying, man, you would never know that this team is 1-10 by their vibe, by their energy, by how hard they're practicing. And then what happened was we ended up winning 5 of our last 7 with that group as they kind of settled in and found a way to win a couple. And hopefully something similar for this group.
If one thing is for certain, Northwestern has found new footing after earning its first conference win against USC. Nick Martinelli knows it, and he's ready to prove it.
Talk is definitely cheap. We're going to see, how hard we play this next game against Penn State because they play hard as heck. Definitely think there was a difference. Even in the loss to UCLA, I just felt a different type of energy out on the court. And that's something we've been looking for, is just that, going back to our roots, the way that Northwestern basketball is supposed to play.
Reporting on Northwestern basketball, I'm Anna Watson, NNN Sports.
Thanks so much, Anna. This season definitely hasn't gone how the Wildcats hoped, but there's still time for a turnaround.
So much more to come on tonight's show. Up next, we'll be joined by one of many special guests to break down Northwestern's up and down season. Don't go away. That'll be right here on Sports Night.
Trying to work my way out of the prison system was the most difficult challenge of my life. It only became tangible once I became a Northwestern student.
One, two, three, four.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city, Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Busy evening for the Welsh-Ryan Arena security staff. First home game in 12 days for the Wildcats, and it's a busy evening for our Sports Night crew too, with a jam-packed show still on tap ahead of tip-off.
That's right, Brendan. We're still going to be here until tip-off, and that still might not be enough time to finish the rundown.
Well, luckily, Calvin, we don't have to do it alone. Multiple Sports Night experts are in the studio with us, ready to show off their basketball smarts.
We now bring in one of those resident basketball experts, Eliav Brooks-Rubin, into the studio to break down Northwestern's season thus far. Eliav, it's great to have you.
It's so nice to be here, guys.
Well, Eliav, let's get started. Let's talk about one of the broader storylines of this Northwestern team this season, the defense. This is a team that has prided itself on its defense in years past. This year, certainly some struggles. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, guys. I mean, the defense just hasn't been great, and anyone who's been tuned into Northwestern basketball knows that. But what's really stuck out to me is the key is between Matt Nicholson and Arrington Page, and how much better Matt Nicholson is than Arrington Page. Across the last 3 seasons, against power conference opponents only, Northwestern's defense is essentially the same when both Nicholson and Page sit, no matter who else is on the floor, with a defensive rating varies about 2 points between 116 and 118, where the lower number is better, and that's a very tight margin. However, Northwestern is much better defensively with Big Matt on the floor with a rating of about 103, and Arrington Page is about 19 points worse at a defensive rating about 122. So it's not that the whole defensive system has struggled, it's really just been finding a trustworthy paint protector.
And those struggles defensively have led to some late-game woes. Northwestern's now 2-5 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. That mark worsens to 2-8 in games within 10 points. Eliav, this used to be the Cardiac Cats. What's happened to the clutch time execution?
Well, some of it is just simply bad luck. Northwestern is a startling 363rd, or in other words, third to last in the country in Ken Palm's luck factor. That just means bounces aren't going their way late in games. But we've also seen a stagnation in late-game offense that's resulted in the worst three-point percentage in the entire country in the final minutes of 8 games at 22%. The isolation rate goes up, the assist rate goes down, which means an offense that is easier to defend and less creative. And if you couple that with an inability to get stops on the defensive end, that's about 5 points worse in the final 8 minutes compared to the first 32. You have a recipe for struggles in the clutch.
And talking about those lineups for Northwestern, we've seen Chris Collins very willing to tinker, but in the last few games, we've seen him rely heavily on these emerging young players. What have you seen in these lineup switches in recent games?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the younger guys that have taken and provided some stability for a Northwestern team that's been desperately lacking it. Jake West doesn't quite have the scoring prowess of Jaden Reed quite yet, but he makes better decisions and has fortified the point of attack defensively. Max Green has quietly been awesome recently as a secondary facilitator and shot creator on offense, and the three-point stroke is coming along and should keep improving down the stretch. Tyler Kropp has been a little bit inconsistent, but was incredible against USC and has flashed his potential as a two-way contributor who does all the little things that you need for a winning basketball program. Add those guys to Trey Singleton and Angelo Cheravino, who have combined to start 31 games and have been consistent contributors on both ends all year long, and you're suddenly looking at a bright future ahead in the post-Nick Martinelli world.
Well, we've got about half an hour until Northwestern's season continues. Eliav, thanks again for joining the show. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
It's been a banner year for Big Ten basketball. From the West Coast to West Lafayette, there are superstars littering the grandest conference in the nation. Sports Night's Matt Campbell and Pierson Strandquist dove deep into the dramatic debate.
In a world where Nick Martinelli is leading the Big Ten in points for a second straight year, you got to start thinking about where he stacks up against the rest of the conference.
That's right. I actually think he should have been a player of the year last season, but he's definitely in the conversation with the production he's been having this year. It's hard to overlook the guy after proving his unorthodox game could not only fly in a power conference last season, but could be one of the best toolkits in the country, and then building off the success he had with it and making his bag even deeper. It's unbelievable.
Unfortunately, Matt, history does tell us you don't win this award unless your team is winning too. And that's the tragedy of Nick Martinelli's season. He's doing historic things right here in Evanston, but the Wildcats just can't find the win column in conference play consistently. I mean, if they were even just in the top half of the standings, he might be the unanimous favorite. I mean, look at these stats. Nick Martinelli is averaging 23.4 points and nearly 7 rebounds to go with it, all while shooting over 54% from the floor and almost 50% from 3 as well. I mean, the issue is clearly not the player, it's the record. I mean, Northwestern is sitting at 9-11 going into today's Penn State game and is near the bottom of the standings in the Big Ten. They need to pick up some steam to pick up Nick Martinelli, but he's not the only player up for this award, is he, Matt?
Not at all. You can't talk about the Big Ten Player of the Year award without mentioning this guy, Braden Smith. He's got to be the first name that comes out of your mouth. The guy won the award last year with one of the greatest passing seasons in Big Ten history, and his 25-26 season has been on the same wavelength, averaging a tick over 15 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, and 9 assists per game. That's tops in the nation. To put that in perspective, the only 2 other guys to average numbers like that in NCAA history are John Morant and Kay Felder. And for good measure, he's got about 2 steals a game. That's 3rd in the conference, and he's the prototype for what we call an all-around point guard. One of the most sure-handed ball handlers in the nation, a pest on defense, and a shot creator. It'll be hard to stop him from repeating as Player of the Year this season.
But don't sleep on Price Sandfort. If the vote is about most valuable player, it has to be on one of the best teams. It's him. Nebraska is 20-1, just fell to Michigan, but I mean, that was a very close game. They were the last undefeated team in America. And Sandfort is the engine. He's putting up over 17 points a game and shooting 40% from 3. He is the definition of a winning basketball player. If Nebraska can rebound from their loss to Michigan, Sandfort would be the reason why. And I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen.
I do like Price Sandfort, but I think I like Hannes Steinbach just a little bit more this season. To be leading the Big Ten in rebounding as a freshman is sensational, but never mind that. This man is averaging a double-double. If he finishes the year with these kind of stats, he would be the first freshman in Washington history to average a double-double. Admittedly, his last performance against Oregon was not great. 3 for 16 shooting, 11 points, but do not forget what he did against 7th-ranked Nebraska the game before. 21 on 58% shooting. Don't forget the UCLA contest either. 29 points, and 10 boards. Hit all but 1 shot that game. He's battle-tested, and he's here to stay in the Big Ten.
I mean, if this award were based on the last month or so of the season, Keaton Wagler would far and away be the pick. I mean, this kid went into Mackey Arena and dropped 46 points on Purdue. 46! I mean, as a freshman, that is insane. He broke the arena record for a visitor and the Illinois freshman scoring record in the same night. He's shooting over 43% from deep and has Illinois on a 9-game win streak, with him averaging over 20 a game in that stretch. He's not just a shooter, he's becoming the closer for a top 10 team in Illinois. I mean, 9 3-pointers in 1 game is a program record as well. This guy's making Player of the Year statement after Player of the Year statement, especially recently, and it's hard to ignore.
Great picks, my friend, great picks. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see that this race is much closer than you would think. On the screen are our official rankings, but this list is very interchangeable in the ever unpredictable Big Ten. Will Martinelli jump Braden Smith? Will Wagler stay in first place in Pearson's list? We never know. It will be an exciting month and a half of basketball for us to digest, but for now, we'll kick it back to you guys on desk.
Let's take a closer look at what to expect tonight as the Cats take on a Penn State squad sitting at 0-9 in the Big Ten. Brendan, to start off with the Wildcats, this is a team that they don't turn the ball over that much, averaging just 10 turnovers per game, but Penn State does possess a really good perimeter defense. How do the Cats try to respond?
Yeah, well, it's going to be pretty tough. Jaden Reed is 57th nationally in assist-to-turnover ratio at 2.84. Northwestern as a team, 2nd nationally in assist-to-turnover ratio, behind only that Purdue team that Matt and Pierson mentioned earlier. But the issue is Nick Martinelli, Arrington Page, Trey Singleton, all top 5 on this team in assists. Lots of big-to-big passing, especially when Martinelli's working in the high post. But he's got 28 turnovers compared to just 33 assists. That's 80th in the conference in assist-to-turnover ratio. Josh Reed for Penn State's going to be big tonight. He played at Cincinnati with Arrington Page last year. Stands at about 6'8", 230 pounds. So he's got length, but he moves well. Tied for 21st in the conference with 1.1 steals per game. And also, we talked about freshmen on the Players of the Year segment. Caden Mingo, Penn State star, 2nd in the conference in steals per game. Could see some freshman-on-freshman crime with him and Jake West.
Well, you mentioned the defensive impact, and one of the things, perhaps the top priority for the Nittany Lions tonight, is slowing down Nick Martinelli. How do they manage to do that without the kind of depth at rim protector that a lot of these Big Ten teams tend to have?
Well, it's going to be really tough to stop Nick Martinelli, especially given Penn State's lack of strength in the front line. 30.7 rebounds per game, the second worst mark in the conference. Penn State's also last in the Big Ten in blocks with just 1.4 per game. But Ivan Juric, standing 7 feet tall, leads the Nittany Lions in rebounds, tied for second in blocks. It's going to be him on Nick Martinelli, you would imagine, quite a bit. But Josh Reed's 6'8", Tibor Mirtic is 6'9", Sasa Ciani is 6'10". Penn State needs to keep Nick Martinelli out of the paint and away from the free throw line. He's got 11 games with 7 or more free throws, and he's an 80% shooter from the stripe. That's how he gets a lot of his points. They've got a lot of length. They've got to use all of it to wear him out and get him tired early.
Well, we've talked about the players. Now let's talk about the coaches. I mean, these are two guys, and Chris Collins and Mike Rhodes, who have a lot of coaching experience, both veterans, but with varying levels of Big Ten experience. How does that come into play in tonight's contest?
Well, I'm not sure if it's going to come into play that much. Mike Rhodes, in just his third year at Penn State, 41 and 43 overall, emphasizes sharing the ball, getting good shots, buying into team culture. They're still looking for their first NCAA tournament berth under him. He made 3 at VCU. Chris Collins, meanwhile, 13 seasons at Northwestern. His teams have made 3 NCAA tournaments here, 203 wins to 201 losses. March Madness probably off the table this year for both of these teams. Now, last year, Penn State set a program record with 79.1 points per game. So Mike Rhodes knows how to coach offense, back-to-back top 25 classes. He is a brilliant recruiter. Collins, meanwhile, has had to shift his philosophy quite a bit the last couple of years, brought in a lot of transfers. Not all of them have hit. But under Chris Collins, Northwestern's reached at least 6 conference wins in every season but 2, and that's because they don't quit. In 2015, the Cats lost 10 straight, then won 5 of their next 6. In 2020, Northwestern lost 12 straight, but won 2 of its last 3 regular season games, including over 20th ranked Penn State. 2021, Cats lost 13 straight, then won their final 3 regular season games. Last year, decimated by injuries down the stretch, and still didn't lose more than 3 games in a row. This is not a Northwestern team that quits easily.
Absolutely, it is not. And it looks like we're going to have a competitive matchup on our hands tonight. We're going to see if the Cats manage to come out on top.
And coming up after the break, we'll have the starting lineups for tonight's conference clash. Plus, SportsNight's very own world-renowned bracketologist stops by the studio. Don't go anywhere.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Ready, set, go!
The Wildcats getting ready for game time, now just minutes away from tip-off.
And Calvin, as we've discussed, this game could have huge implications for both teams going forward. The Big Ten table is a jumbled mess, and every game could throw it into further chaos.
Well, controlled chaos is the name of the game here on Sports Night. Let's take a look at the conference standings. Taking a look at the top half of the Big Ten, you can see it right here. A trio of really, really solid teams. Michigan, Nebraska, and Michigan State. Of course, the Wolverines handing Nebraska its first loss of the season the other day. And then coming in fourth, Illinois. They just took down Purdue behind the 46-point Keaton Wagler performance that was referenced earlier today. Going down the list, you got Purdue, Wisconsin, UCLA, all star-studded teams. Wisconsin on a bit of a roll, winning 6 of its last 7 contests. And then Ohio State, which of course we just saw took down Penn State earlier in the week, and then Iowa sitting at 9th. And then, of course, transitioning into the bottom half of the Big Ten standings, some more teams just trying to get off the bubble. Indiana and USC, 2 teams that are sitting near that NCAA tournament cutoff line, as you can see right here. And then, of course, Washington, coming off a big victory, a blowout victory over Oregon. The Huskies picked up a convincing 15-point win in that one. But all of the remaining squads here coming off losses. You can see Minnesota, Rutgers, Northwestern, Maryland, Oregon, and Penn State round out the list. They're certainly going to have to get some momentum going over the rest of the season.
We're going to zoom back out now to take a look at the national landscape. Sports Night has the unique privilege of collaborating with one of the 50 best bracketologists in the entire world. Patrick Winograd is here with us now in the studio. Patrick, what bracketing brilliance do you have in store for us tonight?
Thanks, Brendan. I'm so happy to be here talking about my favorite hobby, bracketology. Today, we get a special edition of Bracket Babble. We're a month and a half away from the NCAA tournament, but it's never too early to start talking about the big dance, especially if you're talking to me. Fittingly, the Big Ten currently has 10 teams in my most recent projected NCAA tournament field, with a dominant top 5 fighting for potential 1 seeds and 5 true bubble teams on either side of the cut line. Beginning with the best of the best, the top 5 teams in the Big Ten are all contenders for protected seeds, in other words, a top 4 seed by March. Michigan leads the pack, as the Wolverines currently rank number 3 overall and are almost unanimously considered a 1 seed. Not too far behind Michigan is Nebraska, who started out 20-0 before losing to Michigan on Tuesday night. The Cornhuskers are currently the highest-ranked 2 seed, equivalent to the 5th best overall seed in the country. Illinois' recent road win against Purdue caused the Illini to take the Boilermakers 2 seed and the number 6 overall spot and sent Purdue tumbling from a 2 to a 3. Also joining this group of upper echelon teams is Michigan State, which always seems to find its way up here and claims the highest 3 seed, just 2 spots ahead of Purdue and just 1 behind Houston for the final 2 seed. The Spartans and Wolverines will face off tomorrow night in the 3rd matchup between these top 5 teams since last Saturday, a span that started with the big win by the Illini at Mackey Arena and continued with Michigan's victory against Nebraska earlier this week. Speaking of Nebraska and Illinois, those 2 juggernauts will face off in Lincoln on Sunday in a rematch of an early season clash that the Cornhuskers won thanks to Jamarcus Lawrence's buzzer beater. Beyond those 5, though, there are plenty of teams who will try to make their mark in March from the middle of the pack. Iowa, a current 7 seed, will make the tournament barring something catastrophic, but will be fighting for the rest of the season to keep a single-digit seed. Meanwhile, the second logjam in the conference features Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio State, and UCLA, who are all just barely projected for a big bid in the big dance. All 4 are sitting within my last 5 projected buys, with the Hoosiers, Buckeyes, and Bruins taking up each of the last 3 buys. If any of these teams can beat one of the protected seed contenders, they will instantly jump up a seed line or 2 and claim some much-needed breathing room from the bubble. Indiana is a perfect exhibit of that, as the Hoosiers were the 3rd team out as of Monday morning, but are now 7 teams clear of the cut line after defeating Purdue at home on Tuesday night. These next 4 teams, they're living on a prayer. USC is the most notable team here, as it is projected to end up as one of the last 4 teams in. The best case scenario would be a trip to Dayton for a play-in game if the season ended today, but the Trojans are hanging on by a thread to their spot. USC has looked good at times, but has gone 1-4 against projected tournament teams and was non-competitive against Michigan and Michigan State. The Trojans do have notable wins against fellow bubble teams such as Boise State and Seton Hall. Washington has solid wins against USC and Ohio State, but has 9 overall losses, including a resume-destroying low quad 2 loss to Seattle U. Northwestern and Minnesota have extremely low chances to make the tournament, although those 2 are eliminated without virtually perfect runs to end the season. Finally, a personal favorite of mine, we have the Chaos Crew at the bottom of the conference. This group is where you can find Oregon, Penn State, Maryland, and Rutgers. These teams have no chance of making the NCAA tournament, but losing to these teams could bury your chances or at least knock you down a seed line or 2. Stay tuned for what should be an exciting end to the season. That's all for my bracketology update. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. As always, wonderful work and some great yapology. Turning our attention back to Welsh-Ryan Arena, the starters for tonight have been released, and it looks like Chris Collins is going to continue relying on the youth movement in that backcourt. It's Jake West and Max Green again, Tyler Kropp, Nick Martinelli, Trey Singleton making up the front court. 3 freshmen having a go at the starting lineup once again for the Wildcats.
And here's another live look in for you as Northwestern continues to get ready for its Big Ten night at the Welsh, courtesy of Sammy Krimstein.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Northwestern, as you guys have been talking about, they've been going with a new lineup past few games. Someone I want to focus on is Max Green, who was just slid into that lineup the other day. A 3-point sharpshooter, someone that Chris Collins was talking yesterday, he sees himself. And for Max Green, getting in the lineup, getting opportunity is huge. And last game against UCLA, the Cats lost, but Green had a day. 3 for 5 from beyond the arc, 9 points. And Northwestern, a team that struggles from beyond the arc, is going to need his help today. Max Green could be a big factor. Calvin, back to you.
Well, more sneak peeks of the arena still to come, but for now, let's jump into Penn State starters and see what we can expect out of the Nittany Lions tonight. No surprises here either. Dominic Stewart, Caden Mingo, Eli Rice, Josh Reed, and Ivan Juric. Juric, of course, the star, and Rice, the hot hand as of late.
SportsNight's Michael is on the Penn State sidelines. And Mikey, big losing streak for the Nittany Lions, have not won a Big Ten game yet this year. How is the Nittany Lions coaching staff handling this losing streak?
Well, when Mike Rhodes, the head coach of Penn State, took the job 3 years ago, he knew it would be a tough task, and this is a Penn State team that is very young. One of the youngest in all the Power 5, certainly the youngest in Big Ten. But the head coach, Mike Rhodes, is confident. Yes, Penn State is 0 for 9 so far in the Big Ten, but he believes that the wins will start to come. He said, and I quote, "There's all good dudes in the locker room. This is a team with a lot of belief, and despite their youth, they'll try to come out tonight and get one here in the Welsh." Brendan, back to you.
Thanks so much for your insight, Mikey. Penn State head coach Mike Rhodes looking for just his 2nd road victory of the season.
Now we take a glance at Northwestern's upcoming opponents after tonight's game. As you can see, it's a home bout against Washington before they hit the road for a rivalry game against Illinois, then a road matchup against Iowa. Coming back home for a difficult one against the University of Michigan before another road bout with top-ranked Nebraska. We'll take one more quick break before returning with 2 more special guests and a roundtable to debate some key insights surrounding both squads. Back in a moment on Sports Night.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at Elias Studios.
My narrative since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Just minutes away from tip-off and the craziness on Central Street reaching a fever pitch.
Only about 2 months left in the season, and every game matters a little extra this time of year.
It's absolutely right, Calvin. And with the campaign closer to its conclusion than its beginning, it's the perfect time to reflect on how the season's going so far. For that, we welcome Leo Tesler and Adam Sutro onto the big table. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's great to see you. We'll start off with one of the bigger flashpoints of debate around the team. Northwestern brought in lots of new faces this offseason, with the biggest addition literally in the middle. Arrington Page brings a lot of offensive pop, but the Wildcats' post defense, as talked about by Eliav Brooks-Rubin, has suffered a bit. Through 20 games of Page in purple. Guys, what's your review?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've been a little disappointed from what I've seen from Arrington Page thus far. He's left a lot to be desired, and obviously you're going to have a little bit of a transition period when a guy like Matthew Nicholson leaves your program, of course, out of eligibility. Again, a program cornerstone. Growing pains will ensue, but on the defensive end, we've really seen Arrington Page struggle. That's really been the big place where he hasn't kept up his end of the bargain. You see him with these opposing bigs in the Big Ten. He hasn't been able to keep up. You see him get a little too far from the basket at times, and sometimes not even in the right place where he needs to pick up the rebound. That's just something that, has really hurt Northwestern so far this year. And, a big man who can shoot the ball a little bit, make some of those tougher shots is nice, but at the expense of defense, it's still a little wobbly for the Cats.
Yeah, and I don't completely disagree with Leo here. I mean, you're right. Page is not great at everything. He's not good really at all defending the pick and roll, and he's prone to making some null-headed mistakes on the offensive end. But I think what Cats fans sell Page short for is for the talent he does have. He has height. He has length. He's able to protect the rim, and in isolated high-post situations, he can be lethal. He's great finishing around the basket, and because he can consistently knock down a mid-range jump shot, that lengthy jab step of his gets him a step pretty consistently going to the basket. I'm not saying that he's the best player in the world, but do the Cats have enough talent to neglect the talent that Page does have? On that topic, I think not.
Well, it's a fair debate, and I think there are strengths and weaknesses of Arrington Page's game. Certainly some flashes, but defensive struggles like you guys alluded to. But I do want to jump into Penn State because this is a team, we know they've struggled in the Big Ten, but so many emerging performers on this squad as well. For all of you guys, what do you think Penn State can do tonight to kind of show out and build some momentum for the rest of this season?
Well, I'm looking at a guy in Ivan Juric to come up big for the Nittany Lions. Again, he's their freshman big man. He's 7 feet tall, a bit more of a traditional center than Arrington Page is, just kind of drives inside and takes those high percentage shots. And he's got about a .538 field goal percentage, if I have that right. I believe I do. But that also lines him up, in my opinion, with a lot of Arrington Page's weaknesses. Arrington Page is not a great defender in that low post. And, I expect Penn State to really feed the ball into Juric a lot to capitalize on those weaknesses. And, until the Wildcats and Arrington Page on the defensive end can find an answer, it might be tough goings.
How about this? Streaky southpaw sophomore spot-up shooter. That's Eli Rice we're talking about, right? Rice has been a revelation for the Nittany Lions since late December. He's been averaging 12.1 points per game, 43.5 from beyond the arc. Just last weekend, he had a career-high 21 points. I think that Rice adds an air of explosiveness that the Nittany Lions have been looking for, and I expect and hope that Coach Mike Rhodes continues to scheme up open looks so that the sophomore can get hot.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your insights. Based on the time on my watch and the producer screaming in my ear, we've reached the end of the show. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you to our fantastic crew and everyone who contributed to tonight's very special show.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter/X at NNN Sports and on Instagram at NNN_sports. For Brendan Preisman and for all of us here at Sports Night, I'm Calvin Kaplan. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Have a great weekend.